like psychologists call it structural tension. So you're saying it every day, but then you're not doing it. So from inside, within, you get this, that you're saying, but you're not doing. So like you get the inner voice telling you that, you are not following what you are saying. So then you are supposed to, you're forced to follow what you're saying. So this is how it works. Another one is like, I'm remaining calm and tolerant in provoking situations and resolving conflicts with a healthy response. Because when there's a conflict, that's the time where we, criticize the other person a lot, or at least goes on in our mind, Another one is, I'm accepting everyone as they are and caring for them without prejudice, irrespective of their behavior towards me. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that unless we are free from prejudice, we cannot chant purely. And he talks about ancient and modern prejudices in the commentary on Upadeshamrita, Bhakti Alok. So another one is, I'm forgiving others quickly and feeling relaxed. So like this, if we want to be free from the first offense, then we need some affirmations, sankalpa mantras that we repeat every day, so that eventually we stop offending and criticizing completely, right? So that's the goal of having sankalpa mantra. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that you should take a sankalpa that in this life, I will never offend any sadhu, And also during initiation, we take this sankalpa, which we forget very easily, that we will chant 16 rounds, avoiding the 10 offenses, So that is there. So anukulyasa sankalpa, pratikulyasa varjanam. The Sharanagati, 6 limbs of Sharanagati, the first 2 are anukulyasa sankalpa, means just do what is favorable, and pratikulyasa varjanam, don't do what is not favorable. So there are 2 types of sankalpa, do this, like vidhi and nishedh. Do this, but don't do this. Like Prabhupada said, follow the 4 regs. So don't eat meat, don't do this, don't make the 10 offenses. And one vidhi during, obviously, the initiation is just chanting 16 rounds, but obviously then Prabhupada also wants you to read his books, and associate with devotees like that. So to have a sankalpa, right, intention is required to go from one level to another level. This is also very nicely explained in His Holiness Shivram Maharaj's book, Sankalpa Kaumudi, that, a devotee has to take a lot of sankalpas to go from one level to another level. So this is the first point for today, that if we want to imbibe something, implement something, then first we should have a set of affirmations which we repeat, at the end of the day or in the early morning, or as many times as you require. So in our retreats, we also explained that we have a small like this, beads, you get this in Vrindavan, 27 beads, So you can just go with the, I'm feeling wonderful, saying good in others, I'm feeling wonderful, like this, you can go. So you do 27 times like that. You repeat it several times so that it sinks deep in your conscious mind and then your subconscious mind. So that is the first thing, Sankalpa Mantra. Then we talked about, then the next thing is knowledge sheet. So if we want to be free from criticizing, then from the hearing and the reading, the seminars and retreats, we have taken some key points, diamond points. So with those diamond points, you make a knowledge sheet, which you will read every day at least one time, because you're working on that. That's like your goal, that is, say, for 2023, to be free from criticizing. So you have a knowledge sheet, because like you said, that knowledge has to, it's no good having knowledge at the back of your mind when you need it. It has to be in the front. So by reading, it always remains fresh until you form the new habit of not criticizing, right? So like we have made one, so I will just read a little bit from there. Speaking about someone's faults is ninda. This is Sridhar Swami's, quote, that nindanam dosha kirtanam. What is criticizing? That means talking about somebody's fault. Criticizing others is sinful. Criticizing Vaishnavas is offensive. When you criticize someone, Bhakti Devi leaves you immediately and you feel dry and stop progressing. Do not hear criticism of any devotee and avoid prajalpa at all costs. Give up false ego, envy, and cultivate seeing good in others. No one is an eternal robe. Fault finding is bathing in the urine of donkey and arises from imposing one's own bad habits on others. This is by Raghunath Das Goswami in Manashiksha. If you love finding faults, find faults in yourself, not others. This is by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. When you find faults and criticize someone, you are getting his sins in your account and giving him your piety. What a deal. This is from Mahabharata. Prejudice leads to partiality, which leads to disrespect. Attachment to ancient and modern prejudice is asatsanga and is known as one's nature. Until attachment to prejudices is eradicated, the 10 namaprads cannot be cleared from our hearts. It is weakness of heart, hriday daurbalya. Prejudice, judgment based on previous experiences and decisions, premature or hasty judgment, favorableness or unfavorableness to prior unsupported judgment, and thinking ill of others without sufficient warrant. Prejudice actions, verbal, thinking about prejudice and expressing antagonism freely with like-minded friends, avoiding members of dislike group, discrimination, exclude some from certain sevas, attack physically, exterminate. Judge is the master saboteur. Result of no prejudice, appropriate respect to everyone, seeing good in everyone, helping, caring, and serving everyone, tolerating, forgiving, and forgetting past experiences. Happy to see progress, no opinion about others, no rivalry, hatred, or revenging mood. Treat everyone properly and cultivate Atma, Ijya, Tirtha, and Mamta Buddhi with all devotees. Learn the right behavior free of prejudice, fault finding, and criticizing others from advanced devotees. So like this knowledge sheet, it takes just 2-3 minutes to read, but it's all, diamond points that you have picked up from the retreat seminars, from Prabhupada's books and all that. So with just 3 minutes, you get such a heavy, multi-vitamin knowledge, why not to criticize, And if you read this every day for, say, maybe, obviously fault finding for some people may be chronic. So it depends. For some people, 6 months may be sufficient. For some people, it may take 1 year, 2 years, so many years. So this is the thing that you need to make a knowledge sheet, this one knowledge sheet, which is on one A4 size paper, right, with all the key points, which you read daily, or you can put it also on your mobile so that you can just read whenever you get some time, like that. So this is important, that in order to implement, you need to refresh the knowledge, of the habit you want to imbibe daily, right? Then we have another knowledge sheet, right, which is basically helping you to change, right? So the first thing is like impure consciousness plus false ego. Impure consciousness plus false ego. From the false ego comes aham and mameti. I am this body, mind, and intelligence, and controlling nature comes. And from the mameti, all this belongs to me, and I am the enjoyer, right? This comes. But from pure consciousness and real ego, I am an atomic particle of spirit soul, eternal servant of Krishna. And everything belongs to Krishna. I am simply an instrument in Krishna's hand. Krishna is my only possession. 26 qualities of a Vaishnava are my only aspiration. And from that comes like nimit bhav, I'm just an instrument, and selfless service comes from there. So how we have to shift from mithya ahankar, from the impure ahankar, to our real ego, right? So the first change is required in order to be free from this negativity, is that our ego needs to become slowly more spiritualized. Then our identity. To become a better person free from prejudice, fault finding, and criticizing, you need to purify your consciousness, give up false ego, and change your identity by changing your self-talk, self-image, and self-esteem, which consists of self-worth and self-trust. So basically, any habit we have, the core is identity, how you identify with that, So if you think that I cannot tolerate, I will not tolerate any nonsense, I'm a strong man, I'll beat the hell out of him. So if you have this kind of identity, then it's literally impossible to free from this fault finding, criticizing, and all that. So you have to change your identity, which is favorable, right? How you do that is how you talk to yourself, your self-image and your self-esteem. Then desires, if you have material desires, then it's difficult to give up all this. So you have to change your desires from material to spiritual. Then your thinking, like Prabhupada said, high thinking. So think like a sage, high level thinking, free from prejudice, fault finding, and criticizing. And then from the high level thinking will come high level meditation. And from that, the right decision. And then from that, the right action without unbiased mentality, seeing good in everyone, right? Like that. Then the attitude, like Prabhupada said, advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. So inward, what is attitude? Inward feelings which come out as outward behavior, right? It's like you see sometimes you had a clash with some devotee and he comes, you see him coming into the temple, you're seated in the temple and he's coming, and then you turn your face away from him, you don't want to see him, right? Because inside you have that feeling of being hurt or whatever clash you had. So you don't even want to see him. Sometimes you don't even if he says Hare Krishna to you, you don't want to say Hare Krishna like that. So that means your attitude is polluted, right? So inward feelings devoid of prejudice, propensity to find faults and criticize, and healthy feelings of seeing good in others, appreciating them without bias, comes out as healthy and favorable behavior. So your attitude needs to change. Images and imaginations need to change. Emotions need to change, right? And your understanding needs to change, right? There is 3 types of understanding mentioned in the 18th chapter. Sattvic understanding. Sattvic understanding, a person with sattvic understanding completely avoids prejudice, fault finding, and criticizing. A person with rajasic understanding is, rajasic means duality. So sometimes he is not criticizing and sometimes he is criticizing. This is rajasic understanding. And tamasic understanding, right? He's always criticizing, he's always criticizing. So you need to change your understanding. Then belief, right? Some people say it's literally impossible for me to tolerate, it's impossible for me to forget. I'm criticizing so much, practically, it's not possible for me to give up this, right? So you need to change your beliefs about criticizing. So instead of thinking it's not possible, you can put a statement like, why is it so easy for me to stop fault finding, criticizing? I can change my thoughts. Instead of thinking that you cannot change your thoughts, you remove the self-limiting barrier and you start thinking that I can change my thoughts, images, emotions, attitude to improve my progress. I am responsible, taking responsibility. I am responsible for the values by which I live, and I take 100% responsibility to give up prejudice, fault finding, and criticizing, right? So this is like how belief booster, we call it belief booster, And then we say, I strongly believe it's possible to be totally free from fault finding, criticizing, and being prejudiced and advance quickly, because it is my potential and natural quality of my soul. And I am being helped by my Guru Maharaj, Shiksha Guru, Srila Prabhupada, Acharyas, Sadgoswamis, Giriraj, Yamunaji, Vrinda Devi, Gopeshwar Mahadev, all Vaishnavas, and my beloved Lordship, Sri Sri Gaur Nitai, Sri Sri Radha Shyam Sundar, Harinam Prabhu, Lord Nrsimhadev, and many more. So many are helping me, are ready to help me to be free from this, right? So you have that, right? So in this second knowledge sheet, what you're doing, you're cleaning up your whole psychology, And then we have like the manan, right? So most devotees say, how do you do manan like that? So we have also put in that sheet like some questions, right? What will be the loss if you do not give up fault finding, criticizing, and being prejudiced in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, at the end of life? What will be the loss? Are you opting for discipline or regret regarding fault finding, criticizing, and prejudice? What will be the benefits of giving up fault finding, criticizing, prejudice? How pleased will you be upon being non-judgmental and non-envious? What will others think if they see you finding faults, criticizing, and being prejudiced? Are you willing to do whatever it takes to be free from fault finding, criticizing, and being prejudiced? What is holding you back? Can you be an authentic devotee without being free from prejudice, fault finding, and criticizing? What are you avoiding to know regarding prejudice, criticism, and fault finding? When do you get implicated in criticizing and fault finding? Whose help can you take to help you be free from this, like that. So we have a whole set of questions which help you to do your reflective thinking whenever you have that time slot, every Ekadasi or Sunday or whatever you are allowed. So it's already questions, you just sit with them and go bang, 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 you know. And then we have like a habit contract, right? We have a habit contract, which you also have you sign in front of like your accountability partner or your counselor, who is a witness. And it says like this: I will completely give up prejudice, fault finding, and criticizing for next 5 years, starting from this date. I will daily practice Sankalpa mantras, read knowledge sheets and booklets, hear lectures, practice Manan, habit tracking, take coaching, and practice proper behavior till I cross the habit line. I won't stop my above practices because of distractions, temptations, fear, or laziness. And if attacked by these weaknesses, I will bounce back by taking necessary help. I will stop making excuses and avoid self-limiting barriers and be enthusiastic to change for the better. I will send monthly report to my counselor, and if I fail to avoid prejudice, fault finding, and criticizing, I accept the penalty. So if you find that you are not going, then you set for yourself some penalty. Like we have said, like you can pay X amount of obeisances to Prabhupada, you know. You can take a photo of a donkey and pay obeisances to the donkey for not being able to keep up your vow and having default. You can also have a financial thing, like for if you cross so much, like fault finding in a month, say you set yourself that not more than 10 for now. And if you go about 10, for every fault finding, you will pay $1, $5, $10 to some devotee to go for yatra to India, something like that. So you create pressure on yourself to follow, otherwise you will get penalized, right? And you also gift yourself when you do it right? You can also say, okay, when I do this, I will give myself this much break or an outing or nice prasadam or whatever like that. So this is our 2 knowledge sheets, right? So we had the Sankalp mantra and 2 knowledge sheets. Then the first knowledge sheet, the one page, you read daily. This whole like changing your this, changing your attitude, thinking everything, you can read like once in 2 days, 3 days, depending on how critical your fault finding and all that is. Then we have a knowledge booklet, right? Knowledge booklet. So that knowledge booklet you read once a week, not daily, right? In the knowledge booklet, we have taken all the slokas regarding fault finding from Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Khanda. Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Khanda. Like, I'll just read a couple or 2, 3, because then we can move on. I will not award love of God to those fallen souls who have offended my devotees because they are proud of their education, wealth, high birth, knowledge, and austerities. Otherwise, I will give everyone that which persons like Lord Brahma enjoy. This is like Mahaprabhu saying. If someone has lost his intelligence and does not understand this, worships one and criticizes the other, he will be ruined. Just as a foolish person who worships the feet of a Brahmana and then beats him in the head goes to hell, one who worships the deity form of Lord Vishnu and then disrespects that same Lord who is situated in the hearts of all living entities also goes to hell. Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya 5.139. So like that, we have a whole set of, around 30, 40, 50 slokas, so you read that, so you understand how much Mahaprabhu emphasized, Nir Apnade Nam Loy, take the holy name without, by avoiding the offenses. So you read this knowledge booklet once a week, right? So you're doing all this thing for just implementing one thing, right? Like we talked in last session, we don't do jumping, like, we don't read this and then read that and then read that and read that. Whatever time we have, we focus on one thing. What you focus upon expands, right? So we focus and crack it, we crack that. We break that negative habit, right? And we form a positive habit. This is why devotees don't advance, because they're not doing that. They're jumping from one, they're reading this today, then they're reading the next chapter, then they're reading the next book, but they never thought of working on one thing. And then you see 10 years gone, 20 years gone, and they are stagnated on one point, right? Because they never focused on all these things. Although they did take a vow during initiation that they will chant avoiding the 10 offenses, but no one is focusing on that. In Harinam Chintamani, both Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Haridas Thakur say that who is an expert devotee? Expert devotee is not one who is good with constructing many temples, managing or distributing books. According to them, the expert devotee is one who is expert in avoiding the 10 offenses, right? He could just be sweeping the temple or, cleaning whatever, and yet if he's avoiding, then he's an expert devotee. Your external skill don't matter so much. Your psychology matters, your mentality, For this, you need right exposure, right? You need to have role models who are not criticizing. You need to see such people, need to see them for some time, and then if they can become, you can also become. This impression comes very strongly. This is also mentioned in Harinam Chintamani, that how do you advance and how do you avoid the offenses? So they say, sit with a devotee, advanced devotee, and see how he chants and how he behaves, and then you inspire for that kind of chanting and that kind of behavior, and then Krishna will guide you and help you, in many ways like that. So you need exposure to those devotees if you want to be free from criticizing, those who don't criticize and those who see good in others. You also need a favorable environment, right? Because if you are in an environment where everyone is criticizing everyone, then for you, it's like next to impossible to be free from that. It's like we saw during COVID that so many doctors, they themselves, because the immunity was not so strong, the virus caught them and they were finished. So when we are already, diseased with this habit of criticizing, and we are surrounded by everyone who's doing the same, then it's very difficult. So sometimes, obviously in consultation with your authority and your spiritual preceptors, or at least for some time, you need to be in an environment where this is more, practicable. You also need equipping, right? Like this is one type of equipping. We are showing how you can be free from criticizing by doing so many things, just focusing on that, right? So you need someone who is guiding you, you need to take counseling like that. It's not just like, yeah, I finished my 16 rounds, I did this, but you need to go deeper also, and you need to see whether you're getting free from the offenses, you're developing the Vaishnava qualities, you're becoming more sattvic. All these things also we have to address in the counseling and in the personal coaching, right? Which we said, which is very important. Now, it's not so easy to get access to like your spiritual master and your counselor so often. So some friend or some family member, you need to make them your accountability partner, so that it helps you in the beginning to, form the habit. Every day you have to show them that you did this, you read the knowledge sheet, you did this, you counted how many times you criticize. So you make like a, friendship with them, that I will show you my daily report, somebody who can see your daily report, because otherwise if you keep it monthly and all that, so that pressurizes you to start practicing the right behavior and avoiding the wrong behavior on a daily basis, because daily some friend, someone near you, and they are also able to see you. They are able to see you. So they can say, no, Prabhu, you saying you are not criticizing, but I saw you criticizing today, right? So the accountability partner also helps there, because mostly the spiritual master and your counselor, they are like, mostly, or maybe sometimes close also, but remote. So they are not able to see you. They are just trying to treat you from what you're doing. But this is not Vedic culture. See, Vedic culture, in the Gurukuls, the disciple used to be under constant vision of the spiritual master. He would know guna karma, what is his inclination, what is his mode, what are his habits, and he was able to train much better. So the accountability partner can help address that to a certain extent, right? So you need someone like that. Then self-coaching. You cannot have a session with your coach, your spiritual guide, your counselor, every week. It may be once every 2 weeks, once, month, like that. So in between, you do self-coaching, So how do you do self-coaching? You ask a few set of questions. Like the first question is, in last week, which devotee did I associate with and serve? In last week, what insights I got from the reading, hearing, seminar, retreat, everything? What insights I got? What vow, what sankalpa were broken in last week, right? What was I not able to follow, In next week, what bold action I can take, step out of the comfort zone, so that I can, for last 4 weeks, I'm scoring 10 criticisms per day. What bold action I can take next week so that it is reduced to 8, like that? What bold action I can take to solve, what I can do, like that. So like this, you ask yourself, you coach yourself, like that, by asking your questions. And whose help can I take? What book I can read? What course I can take to further get out of this habit, like that, right? And the most important thing is that along with all this is chanting, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, right? So, Sarva Papa Shoy, this Sankirtan, the chanting, removes all sins, all bad habits. So, all we are getting this knowledge. Shivram Maharaj says that if you're chanting purely, you don't need to read even Bhagavatam, because it's all in there in the chanting, right? So the reading and all this hearing is meant to bring you to follow the right behavior so that you don't make offenses. So both things go hand in hand. You're chanting, as you start working, as you stop feeding anarthas. We cannot remove the anarthas. Krishna removes that. But we can stop cultivating and feeding. How do we cultivate? By dhyato, by contemplating, by the wrong behavior, right? So we stop that. So it's like, we keep a social distance, right? Asatsanga, we avoid bad association and we keep from that. We associate with the good. We understand the right behavior from them and learn from them. And then you're chanting, quality chanting, little bit extra chanting. That helps a lot, So both things have to go on side by side, that you work on all these things. You're just working on one habit at a time, and you start mastering and reducing the faults, right? And your chanting will improve and you're focusing more on trying to chant nicely. So sometimes devotees ask that what is the difference between the materialists working on their habits, and us working. See, the materialists are working with their own effort. But the devotees are working with their effort as well as the mercy of the Lord. So who is the Lord? Harinam Prabhu, right? So when the Lord sees your sincerity and your seriousness to avoid criticizing, fault finding, prejudice, and you're taking shelter of the holy name also, in the right way by attending japa retreats, japa seminars, reading japa books, right? Because there also we need to sharpen the saw. Then the karmis, the materialists, they can remove the bad habit to a certain level, but they cannot remove from the seed level. But the devotees, they can remove completely from the seed level. Inclination will go, because you will get a higher taste. That's why param drishtva nivartati. Like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, our goal is not anartha nivritti, but first 15-20 years by serious bhajan, we complete the anartha nivritti. But our real goal of life is artha pravritti. However, if we neglect anartha nivritti, we will never advance. We will never advance, because they will just, these anarthas will keep you spinning life after life, and it will take many, many lives to perfect. So the right science has to be learned. And these are some of the ways where, which you will implement. And many devotees have practiced all these methods and have had very good success with this criticizing and all the offenses and all that. So this completes our 2 sessions, what we can do to implement, right? And like we discussed last time, that Manan is 100 times more beneficial. Reflective thinking is 100 times more beneficial than just hearing, reading, and associating, right? But implementation, nididhyasan, is 10,000 times more important, more beneficial than hearing and reading, etc. And 100 times better than reflective thinking. So you can just try working like this, on anything you want, and then see the result for yourself. So we can stop here, right? If any questions are there, we can.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, again for a wonderful talk. How you focused on on avoiding the offenses of especially criticizing and fault finding, and how the key to pure chanting is to avoid these offenses, and also the 10 offenses. We see in the Sikshashtakam prayers that, amani na mana dena, that giving all respect to others, that is the key to doing Kirtaniya Sadhari. So thank you so much, Prabhu. And especially like the point where you mentioned that criticizing and fault finding, it arises from imposing our own bad habits on others, right? And when we are criticizing, we are giving them. When we are criticizing others, we are giving them our piety, and we are taking their sins. So it was some very strong points. So thank you so much. So I'll open the floor to questions, but I'll just take a minute to announce our future programs. I'll just share my screen. So this is our website, iskonofbergen.org. These are deities, Shri Shri Nimai and Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar. This coming Sunday, we will hear from His Grace Maheshwar Prabhu from ISKCON of Central New Jersey. He's going to speak on Bhagavad Gita 12.5. And coming up is Shri Krishna Janmashtami on September 6th. So from 6:30 p.m. all the way until midnight, we celebrate Lord Krishna's divine appearance. So devotees, please take a note of the venue. And we have our weekly Bhakti Riksha programs every Friday from 7:30 p.m. So if you're not part of any of our Bhakti Riksha programs, then please get in touch with us. We have daily Bhagavad Gita reading from 12 noon, 15 minutes. And we have our daily Japa calls headed by Chadraupadi Mataji from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Right, so if anyone has any questions, please feel free to unmute. You can raise your hands, you can post your questions in the chat. And, I'm sure Prabhu will be more than happy to take them up. So Prabhu, I'll maybe start with a question. The point, Prabhu, where you said that when we are criticizing others, when we are finding faults with others, right, we are giving them our piety and we are taking their sins, right? So when you say that criticizing and fault finding, does it have to be verbal? Do we have to do we create a sin when we verbalize it, when we act it out, or even if we think bad about someone? Because they say in Kali Yuga, you create a sin only when you say something wrong or when you do something wrong. But if you are just thinking it in your mind and if you're not acting on it, you're not actually creating a sin. So I know if you think too much about it, it is eventually going to come out. But if you can maybe shed some light on that.
Yeah, in other yugas, even if you think of committing sin, it is counted. But in Kali Yuga, it is not counted. But when it comes to offense, because one of the offense is that to be not pleased upon seeing a devotee, right? So if you're thinking then you are not going to be pleased upon seeing that devotee. And you will be implicated just by thinking, in relationship with devotees and senior devotees. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he has written an article that if you criticize verbally or in the mind a Kanishta devotee, then you incur sin. Then you incur sin. If you criticize verbally or mentally a Madhyam Adhikari or Uttam Adhikari, you incur offense, Namaprad, which blocks your chanting. You lose taste in the chanting. It becomes dry, So this he's also mentioned this. So if you criticize the devotee in the mind, then yes, you incur sin. And if you criticize someone verbally, then to the degree you have criticized and to the degree that auto shifting has been done of his sin in your account, and then for that much period, what happens is that devotee cannot chant, he cannot read, he cannot hear, and he's blocked. But after 15 days, he starts reviving, right? So when you commit sin, then you will come back in 1 or 2 days sometimes, or 1 week, 2 weeks. Like I know one devotee criticized another devotee verbally, for 1 hour. For 15 days, he had a tough time chanting. He just couldn't complete his rounds. After that, he started getting normal. But in Jaiva Dharma, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that if you criticize a Vaishnava of Madhyam Adhikar or Uttam Adhikar, then that offense will block you for years. For years. You just can't make progress. 10 years, 20 years will go and your life will become a big mess. So both ways, even if it's a neophyte devotee or a Madhyam or a Uttam, you're suffering. You get reaction.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. Any other questions from anybody?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Right.
Well, going over all the knowledge sheet, and some of the questions were very, very deep as to how we can put a check on ourselves. So that was really very deep. So my question is that sometimes devotees don't even realize that they are criticizing. They might just say that I'm pointing out the truth, calling the spade a spade. So what's wrong in that? I'm just pointing out to the person what the person is all about, or if they are doing anything wrong or right, or things like that. Basically, I'm just being honest about really criticizing. So how to deal with that situation, and is it okay in our Vaishnava culture, or does it fall under etiquette to call the spade a spade in the first place? Is that acceptable?
The thing is that who can find faults and who can correct. So the Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, counselor, and the authority, these people can find fault and correct with the view of helping the devotee come up, not with an envious mentality. If they do it with an envious mentality, they also get implicated. All others have no adhikar to hear or talk about this. If they talk, then they will not make progress, and this auto transfer of piety and sin will be taking place. And that's why we see devotees like even 40 years, 30 years, they are struggling, because this is the number one thing. If we can just avoid this, if we can just imbibe this, everything will be like, just amazing. You'll reach the moon.
Authoritative Prabhu, yes. So yes, only certain devotees have the adhikar, because yes. So again, it's about the mentality and the mode in which they are actually approaching that devotee. To if it is only constructive feedback because they really want to correct the devotee and they really want them to see improve and be better versions of themselves, then that's fine. But if it is done really in the mode of demeaning somebody or devaluing them, then that's a problem for sure. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes. And like when we are dealing, supposing you're in the temple chanting and you see some devotee who is like dozing off while doing japa. So now the question comes, shall I wake him up or shall I not? Right? So we have to see if that devotee will be able to see it as help, then we can help him, like, right? But if we see that devotee, he will get angry and all that, so that will not be good. Like that Leela is there where Rupa Goswami is meditating on, Krishna lifting Srimati Radharani to pick some flowers. And then when she's picking, he lets her go. So she's like stuck on the branch. And when he's seeing this Leela in the meditation, he starts laughing. At that time, someone like a hunchback, Ashtavakra, whose body is like in 8 places all bent, goes by and he takes that offense. And then the meditation of Rupa Goswami, this is just to teach us. Obviously, he's on such a high level, but that he was not laughing at that person's, handicapped body. He was laughing at what happened in the Leela. But that devotee, that person, he took it like offensively, and then for like a week or so, whatever, he couldn't just go into that ecstatic meditations and all that. So he consulted Sanatan Goswami. Then Sanatan Goswami says, definitely somebody has taken offense. So why don't you invite all the people here in this village for prasadam? And the person who doesn't come, you must understand that he must have taken offense. Then you have to square it up with him. So like that we can see, so if somebody takes it as an offense, so we have to be very careful. If we don't know someone so much and then we try to, teach him something and he takes it bad, that will like, if not too much, at least our next day chanting might be disrupted. But if it's someone elevated, then it could be very dangerous.
In this case, the intent does not matter. It was totally innocent, and maybe the person did not want to offend anybody, or I mean, here, this pastime of Rupa Goswami, he did not even see this person from the crowd. So
Yes,
here,
but they are showing the importance that even if someone takes that offense, then it affects you.
yeah, it's a dangerous place to treat to.
Yeah, pada vipadam. That's why it says surasya dhara. Walking on the devotional path is like walking on a sword's edge. Slight inattention, slight carelessness, then some blood will come out. Some time will be wasted. So how careful we have to be, So that is what is being taught here by that Leela. How cautious we have to be.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. That was beautiful.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Any other questions?
Sometimes it may feel that, oh, we have to do so much, how can we do it? But that's a self-limiting barrier. You have the potency. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadi Shuchite Kare Uday. Everyone has the potency to attain Krishna Prem, and because you have that potency, it is not our nature to be affected with all this negativity, The soul is pure always, but our consciousness has got contaminated because of the association, especially of Rajogun and Tamogun. So by learning the art and associating with the right people, and it's possible for everyone to be free from this, It's not, you have the potential inside you, you just have to work at it. It may seem taxing and, a big task, but Shivram Maharaj writes that you have to work strenuously to be free from bad habits. If we don't work hard enough, because we created the habits. By doing again and again, we created this, habits of fault finding and whatever, so many things. But by reading, hearing, chanting, it makes it very easy. The moment you start practicing this and also then chanting, then we can finish this much faster than what the karmis and jnanis can, control. Because we get the help of Krishna. God helps those who help themselves. So the moment Krishna says you are sincerely working, he will help you. And then it will become very easy.
That's correct, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. We have one question in the chat. When I know that I could offend someone, is it not better to just keep distance from devotees and not associate?
Not all devotees. If you are having problem with one devotee, then you can keep safe distance and still respect him. But if you try to keep away from all devotees, right, then your growth will not happen, because the root of devotion is sadhusam. So you need to associate with the devotees, and yes, it may also help to, keep safe distance. Like, familiarity breeds contempt. So don't get familiar with devotees, and practice the right knowledge, and then gradually, associate with the devotees, because our goal is to go to Goloka, where there are only devotees. There are no non-devotees, and we have to live with them, So our psychology, our minds have to be such that our mind is so favorable, to be able to live with all the devotees, 95% of the souls, 90 to 95% of souls, they are in the spiritual world. Only 5 to 10% of souls are in the material world. So this is not our place. So we have to get that culture right. That Swabhav has to be developed. That Vaishnav nature, Vaishnav qualities has to be developed so that we can go there. And then, like if you see in Bhagavatam, all the great souls are just praying that whatever it may be, just keep me in the association of your devotees. And like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, it goes to the extent that even if you make me a butterfly, but let me be a butterfly in my next life in the house of your devotee. So our goal is to be with the devotees and not away from them. But yes, if we find that by associating with a particular devotee, my offensive nature, then you may keep safe distance, right? And then become stronger and more immune. And then you can also go closer. Okay, Prabhu, we can end here.
Sure. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for this two-part series, and I'm sure.
Thank you for allowing me to serve you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. And yes, I just remembered that in the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna, in the 12th chapter, he mentions the qualities that he would want his devotees to develop. And the first quality that he mentioned is Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam. So he's not, my devotee is not envious of any living entity. So yes. Thank you so much for elaborating on this point of becoming free from the tendency to find faults and criticize others, and the importance of having accountability partners, the importance of having sankalpa mantras and affirmations that we can repeat to ourselves every day, so it gets drilled in our subconscious mind. So thank you so much. And
yeah, and this is for everything we want to imbibe. This process is not just for criticizing. It's also there for positive thing. If you want, like japa, you need affirmation for japa, knowledge sheet for japa, like that. So for both positive and negative, this process will help a lot.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, this is Ramchandra Das. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. It was your idea to you also gave this topic.
Very, very powerful, very meaningful, and very practical. And thank you for taking the time. I know it's very early in the morning.